welcome to Wrestling at Random. I'm Jeremy Deemer.
I am Adam Summers, and you are here in Season 6 of Wrestling at Random, where the theme is somehow more wrestling than ever was in Season 5. Some 60,000 hours of professional wrestling were dumped into the randomizer. We've had some really off-the-wall stuff to start the season. We've had some very mainstream stuff. This week, it's something that is certainly a sweet spot, I feel like, for this podcast, something I'm always very excited for us to get. It is All Japan Pro Wrestling TV. Falls in an interesting time. We feel like we've had some 70s, we've had some early 80s, we've had a decent amount of All Japan 90s TV here on the free feed. Here, this is late 80s, taped August 19th, aired August 20th, 1989. The world famous Korakuen Hall, some big stars on this show. And like I said, a really interesting period of time for All Japan as they were sort of transitioning out of the era we always talk about where you didn't have a lot of clean finishes. You had the big stars, there'd be double countouts, double disqualifications. We're not quite yet into the 90s, Masao Kobashi, Taue Kawada, that golden era of clean finishes and incredible matches. But we are clearly on that road, and that style is pretty much in place by this point.
For all of our new listeners, first of all, welcome. Glad you're here. How the show works is, like Adam mentioned, we take all the internet's wrestling content from public locations, private locations, the corners of the dark web, and wherever we can
dark bacteria mold-filled corners of the web.
Wherever we can find wrestling content, we take it, we dump it into the randomizer. We fire it up, and every single week the randomizer will pick something for us to watch at random. Could be any territory, any time period, a single show from a TV show or a pay-per-view or an arena special or anything. It could be, if it's wrestling content, it's in there. And so this week, it takes us back to All Japan for their television show. And you mentioned it's August 20th, 1989. The actual show we're about to review is available on YouTube as of the time of this recording. If you're going to go to YouTube to watch it later, make sure you go to our YouTube channel at some point, youtube.com, search for Wrestling at Random Podcast. There you can access the video version of this podcast, where I wish I had an All Japan shirt. I'd be wearing it right now. I'm wearing my New Japan shirt, but Adam's got his on, right, Adam?
Absolutely. This is the very shirt that I wore when I shook hands with one of the men on this show, one Toshiaki Kawada.
We will get there and as we review this show, but yeah, make sure you go there. So throw us the like and subscribe. It helps us work the algorithm so that other wrestling fans can find the show. Even if you don't consume your podcast via the video form, make sure you support the show by subscribing there. Here we are talking about All Japan in this TV show, which means we're going to hear the amazing All Japan theme song. In fact, it's playing underneath us right now as we talk, Adam. I love it. It's my favorite.
Absolutely. You got to do it. Got to do it.
And we go right to our opening match. We jump right in on this show. We hear Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Jungle playing as Doug Furnas and Dan Kroffat come out.
Dan Kroffat, Season 6 is becoming a bit of a Dan Kroffat podcast here. If you listen to
back-to-back weeks.
Back-to-back weeks, Dan Kroffat in 1986 in international wrestling from Montreal, teaming with the future Z-Man, Tom Zink here. Much more recognizable tag team partner, his longtime partner, Doug Furnas, taking on the Revolution, the Footloose team of Toshiaki Kawada and Samson Fuyuki, who people would know as Fuyuki, in War, and even more so as Kodo Fuyuki in FMW. It's crazy to think this is the same guy that was in FMW in the late 90s into the early 2000s. Completely different style here than he was at that point. Should also mention there were other matches taped for this show, including John Tenta against Goro Surumi. This is very, very early on in John Tenta's career. We actually had an All Japan show from several years prior where he was in the crowd as a sumo who was a guest for All Japan Pro Wrestling. Also, Shane Douglas in a singles match on this show against Shuji Takano.
Kroffat and Furnas have on their Strike Force looking gear here.
Yeah, Can-Am Express, which again, there's so much cross-pollination. You think of Can-Am Express in the WWF, which was Tom Zink.
The Can-Am Connection in WWF. Well,
yes, Can-Am Connection. Mm-hmm. Tom Zink and Ricky Martel. It's so weird that all these guys weren't really teams together very long, but there's a lot of cross-pollination. It also threw me off in that while Kroffat is not as jacked as he was in 86, the difference in build between Kroffat and Furnas is not as pronounced as it would be years later, where Doug Furnas is just massive and jacked and Kroffat is just in kind of wrestling shape. Also, again, lo-fi video here. Doug Furnas with short hair is throwing me off. There's times I'm like, oh, wait, which one is it?
Yeah, they get jumped at the open by their opponents before they even get into the ring. Once they do get inside the ring, Furnas with a press slam throws him over the top rope to the floor.
Yeah, so Furnas press slam that ends up partially taking out his partner, Dan Kroffat. This is a hot start to this match. You look at the just on paper and think, oh, this is going to be a sporting affair between these two teams, but my goodness, it's not. This is heated to start, like you said, with Fuyuki and Kawada getting the jump early. Kawada, again, in his Footloose era gear, which when we attended that Q&A between Eddie Kingston and Toshiaki Kawada several years ago, they talked extensively really about the entire career of Kawada, but about this era. It's always so strange, though, because you just are so used to seeing him in the traditional black and yellow. Another weird cross-pollination for people who are patrons. We had an episode of International Wrestling, a separate one, on the bonus feed, and a young Toshiaki Kawada, Toshiaki as he was called, was on his excursion on that same show.
Furnas whips Kawada into the ropes, and he hits the ropes and crumbles like he hurt a rib hitting the ropes.
This was so strange. Again, these ropes are hard, and yeah, he hit it wrong. It was almost like he didn't fully turn in time to take it all on his back, and it looked, unless this was just the story of the match, which super cool, different way to just tell a story.
Could be. It totally could be.
Could be. The idea was to make this seem like it was a real injury. Kawada hits the ropes awkwardly, and sure as hell looked like he injured his ribs. Fuyuki is in, checking on him. We're pretty much stopped here. Furnas gets some clubs, brings Kawada into the corner. Kroffat tags in, and they reset. Kawada is in pain, and he just walks over and tags out.
Fuyuki in with Kroffat. Kroffat misses a charge, but holds onto the ropes as he goes outside the ring, skins the cat back into the ring, and hits a clothesline. The crowd very impressed with this move.
A middle rope skin the cat. It almost reminded me, it's not the same. It's like what Wheeler Yuta does, but in that case, Wheeler Yuta goes all the way out and back in. Here it was almost like a 619, a tiger feint, whatever you want to say, and then hits that great running lariat. The thing that's notable here in this match is that you could make the argument based on crowd reactions that neither of these teams are full out heels, but the baby faces are Kroffat and Furnas. The crowd is more firmly behind Kroffat and Furnas than Fuyuki and young Kawada here.
Kroffat cuts off, and Fuyuki kills him with a hard lariat.
A cool running lariat out of the corner, almost more, not exactly, but almost more like a Barry Windham style flying lariat than something you would see normally, just a running lariat.
Kawada's back in, throwing kicks and knees. Jumping head kick, and Furnas is staggering. We get double shoulder blocks to run Furnas over.
Great running double shoulder. Just ran right through him.
Fuyuki hits a weak middle rope drop kick, then a half crab. Furnas powers out.
weak. Second row drop kick was lame. Also here, again, we had a half crab. We had that leg lock earlier. It's the one thing that is always a downer, maybe the only thing that's a downer out of All Japan style at this time, and obviously into the 90s as well, is that nobody ever won with submissions because Baba thought it made, like, particularly the top Japanese stars look weak to submit. So you get these submission spots and it's just dead silent. No one ever buys them as finishes.
The story of the match here for me was cool double teams from Furnas and Kroffat.
Yes.
And we get some here early as Furnas with a bear hug with Kroffat kicking the guy in the face.
Yeah, it's basically a spin kick version of the heart attack.
Yes,
where
we'll
Furnas
see
is
another
like a jump
variation.
spin kick.
Yeah, variation on the heart attack later in this match too. Running Samoan drop by Kroffat for a 2 count. Furnas comes in, hits his awesome drop kick. I know you love
the
that.
Drop salt. Still, again, today, this is from 1989. You bust this out in a match in 2025 when we record this, people are going to go crazy. This would be a highlight of a match.
Here again, Furnas has him in a heart attack position, but Kroffat sits on the middle rope. Furnas then passes him to Kroffat, he hits like a middle rope gourd buster.
Yeah, this was, again, super unique, really, really cool. Kawada makes the save again, and there's some boos. We then get Fuyuki on offense, hits a vertical suplex that as he's falling, he then goes into like the fisherman, into the cradle. Really unique, different way of doing this. Like the motion of the body isn't the same, but the only guy I can think of that does a version of this in modern times, Nick Wayne. His fisherman suplex starts as a vertical suplex.
Kawada's back in. Kroffat gets him in a leg submission, but Fuyuki breaks it up from the apron. Kroffat keeps attacking the ribs of Kawada that he injured earlier in the match. Jumping clothesline by Furnas gets a 2 count.
Like the closest I've ever seen someone who isn't Rick Steiner to hitting a Steiner line here from Doug Furnas.
And then one of my favorite moves, the snap belly-to-belly suplex by Furnas.
Yes, this was great. A running clothesline in the corner, and then that awesome snap belly-to-belly, which again, like, does not look like anyone else's version of that move.
Kroffat in with kicks and hits a snap suplex of his own. Gets in that heart attack position again, but Furnas hits a drop kick instead of the clothesline.
Up high, drop kick up
Great
high.
height.
Keep
Great
doing
height.
modern comps. This reminded me so much of in New Japan current day when Kushida and Kevin Knight do the double team where Knight will jump high into the air and drop kick the opponent that's basically on the shoulders of Kushida, but he's not coming off the top. It's just from the mat.
All 4 men in. They hit a double shoulder block. Kroffat has double underhooks on, but before he can put the move on, the illegal man comes flying in off the top rope with a clothesline.
Yeah, and he's going for the Tiger Driver. So that was for Kroffat's finish. I believe he won the All Japan Junior title with that before. So yeah, that was a finish averted.
So then Kawada picks up Kroffat on his shoulders, like fireman's carry position, and Furnas comes in illegally to kick him in the face. Kroffat rolls through into a crucifix for a pin attempt, but only a 2 count. Kroffat gets run over with a lariat for a 2 count.
A wild running lariat by Kawada. Then we get Kawada going for a brain buster, and all in one motion, Kroffat like swings down and gets an inside cradle and gets the win. Super cool finish.
Super cool finish. Really impressive win for Kroffat and Furnas. They were put over like $1 million here. Looked like a dominant team. Post-match, it breaks into a fight again. They fight all the way to the back, then back to the ring. This was really hot open.
Classic deal where you have the post-match brawl. It calms down. I think everyone's going to the back, and they start brawling again. They're all in a pile. This was super fun. Really, really good match to open. I always liked Dan Kroffat, but I feel like seeing him again, I haven't watched a lot of him in quite a while other than on this podcast. I thought he looked great here, coming off of looking great 3 years prior in Montreal.
looking great, but still looking young and green in Montreal.
Yes.
What a difference a few years made for this guy. Like he is on fire here.
It's the benefit of wrestling in Japan and getting those reps. Like he was a well-trained young guy in 1986 in Montreal, looking green but with a ton of potential. And here it's potential realized.
We cut to the next match. Johnny Ace is in the ring. His opponent, Abdullah the Butcher. The stars keep coming.
So it's Johnny Ace versus Abdullah the Butcher. And like when I watched the show, I hadn't yet gone back and checked the full card to see that Shane Douglas was on the show as well. But I'm like, oh my God, it's 1989. And Johnny Ace is out here in his Dynamic Dudes gear. He's wearing a Dynamic Dudes t-shirt. He's got the pull-off neon body glove shorts. And yeah, this is while they were in WCW, they were also coming and doing this, which isn't necessarily a shock because there was a bit of a relationship there at that point. I remember 88 or 89, maybe 87. Sting had a match in All Japan, I believe, against Dan Spivey. So there was a bit of a relationship there. But yeah, what is this going to be? Johnny Ace and Abdullah the Butcher in 1989 in All Japan.
Ace jumps him as Butcher's coming through the ropes. Ace hits Butcher with a chair to the head. He hits a monkey flip on the floor. This is crazy to start the match.
Flying lariat off the apron. It's a really cool way to start the match, too, because Ace doesn't let him get in, and then he keeps knocking him to the floor, hitting a move, getting back in, knocking him to the floor again, never letting him back in, which if you are a young, good-looking, high-flying guy, your goal is going to be not to get carved up by Abdullah the Butcher. So I would be doing exactly what Johnny Ace is doing here. That, by the way, is probably the first and only time I will ever say that I would do the same thing in my life that Johnny Ace would do.
Please, let's keep it that way. Ace hits, so Butcher's in the ring. He blocks a punch, and then he knocks Ace to the floor. Butcher hits Ace with some random metal box and then a chair shot to the head, and Ace is busted open here.
Yeah, I'm looking for like Dump Matsumoto with this box here.
In the ring, Butcher goes for the running elbow drop. He hits it. He gets the pin. Huge Butcher chants from the crowd.
He's doing his taunt that he always does. He's jumping up and down. He's light on his feet. This was so fun. This is not a match that would get a star rating of any kind. It wouldn't even get rated. But it is, if you're going to do Johnny Ace versus Abdullah the Butcher in 1989 in All Japan, you could not do a better job than everyone did in pulling that match off than they did here. Super fun, short TV match.
Ace is so hurt, he's carried to the back. And then we get loud Baba chants because Butcher's calling out Giant Baba, and the people want it. Butcher into the crowd. He's scaring people away. He's throwing chairs as people cower in fear. I love when Stan Hansen and Abdullah the Butcher are amongst the people. Always exciting.
It's the best. It's Japan is not a litigious society to begin with, and this is a less litigious time period than modern day is. So it's always fun to see wild foreigners not having any concern about the fans. There is a fan that gets in Abdullah's face right as he's about to the back, and he gets the evilest eye from one of the young All Japan wrestlers who is trying to keep the fans away.
We join our next match in progress. Adam, who is in this match?
What a battle this is. We've talked before, like one of the things we enjoy greatly about like these All Japan TV shows is you will get, particularly on the foreigner side, you will get a big star or maybe even two big stars, and then there will be like this random one-off foreigner who's young, who's green, who isn't very good, and then you look on Cage Match and it's the only tour they ever got, and like it's so obvious, at least in theory, who the pin eater is going to be. We think of like Joel Deaton teaming with Stan Hansen as one of those examples. Here, it is Terry Bam Bam Gordy teaming with future United States Tag Team Champion, future partner of Firebreaker Chip, future member of WCW Special Forces, young, green as all hell, Todd Champion, looking more like a bootleg Magnum TA than Todd Champion himself. taking on Yoshiaki Yatsu, one of my favorites. He was definitely better a couple of years prior to this, but still huge fan of Yatsu. And the great Kabuki.
Crazy. I'm like, what is going on? This will continue. So I don't look at the lineups for the matches ahead of time. I just let the show wash over me like I turned this on in 1989. The participants in this match, nothing compared to what we're going to see in our TV main event later in a shocking me going, what? Who? What? I thought this was going to be that. No, the main event will be it.
This was, by the way, Todd Champion's first match in All Japan on his first and only tour of All Japan here, which he also, the next night, he lost in a singles match to John Kenta. He teamed with Terry Gordy and Shane Douglas in a losing effort against Jumbo, Kabuki, and Yatsu. Also, look at these results. I see we did have a lot of dynamic dudes teaming together as dynamic dudes on this tour. So interesting stuff here. But yeah, Todd Champion in 1989 in All Japan Pro Wrestling. He also, so he's in this tour. I don't know if he gets hurt in the last match, because then he does not have a match listed on Cage Match in 1990. Wow. This tour ends, and then the next thing you see of him as a wrestler is teaming with Firebreaker Chip as WCW Special Forces on Worldwide in July of 1991. So he almost goes 2 years without wrestling after this tour.
So Gordy and Yatsu are trading backdrop drivers.
We joined this in progress.
It's in progress, sorry.
Right as we join in progress, which should happen often in the 1 hour All Japan show, we hear the 10-minute call from the ring announcer. Yeah, they trade backdrop drivers. Running clothesline and a toe kick puts Yatsu down, and then Yatsu up with one of my favorites. I always love a good old man rounding enziguri.
So Todd Champion comes off the top with this weak strike, and I swear the crowd is laughing at him.
Oh, they are 100% laughing their asses off at him. I've referenced before, like this even into like the 2000s in Noah, this would happen. I remember when the future Eric Rowan did one tour of Noah and got basically laughed out of the building. I remember there have been a few times where there was a luchador that came in and just looked really bad and got laughed out of the building. But yes, this is 2,000 people with a hearty guffaw as he comes off with the daintiest top rope strike you have ever seen in your life.
Ugh. So finish comes with a power slam, and Gordy cuts off the other man, and it quickly breaks down. We get in the ring. Yatsu rolls up Champion and gets the pin, while Gordy is fighting with Kabuki outside the ring.
Yatsu had clearly had enough of Todd Champion and won this match over. He gets on a small package and then holds Champion there and makes him shoot kick out after the 3. This legit is like a 6 or 7 count. Bundy would be like, okay, this is a little much. Like completely ridiculous. He did hit a nice top rope shoulder block after, but it was, after the really bad top rope strike, but it, he did not win over the fans at Korakuen Hall here in his first night in the territory, so to speak.
He did not win me over. And so that would make it ever in his career. I was never won over.
He did hit a great like flying back elbow off an Irish whip, and it's always so funny to me when like guys don't do anything well, but they've got one move or one spot that they execute perfectly. And here he's super early in his career, and he's got that one thing. It's the one thing he did well in WCW, other than look like he could have maybe been a bootleg Surfer Sting if they were ever going to do an angle like that. But yeah, not impressive here. But a fun footnote that this was it for him until 2 years later in WCW.
And we go to our television main event. Now, tell us who was in this match. I'm watching this on a plane, and I'm just going. Nobody's more excited than I am in my seat as this match is being announced. Tell the people who were in this match and remind them where we are in these guys' careers at this time.
So this is a young Kenta Kobashi, like on the way up, but not in his orange yet, wearing red that you would more associate with Akira Taue, taking on the legend of all, or teaming, I should say, with the legend of all legends, Jumbo Tsuruta. Their opponents.
My guy Jumbo. I'm so excited.
Hell yeah, Jumbo.
My guy Kobashi. What a team. What a team.
What a team. Kenta Kobashi and Jumbo Tsuruta at Korakuen Hall. That'll work. Their opponents, a very young baby Yoshinari Ogawa, who just retired a couple months ago due to injury. He had been wrestling nonstop all the way through regularly. Again, just retired. But here a young, small Yoshinari Ogawa and Genichiro Tenryu. So immediately I'm like, oh my God, we're going to see Jumbo and Tenryu go at it. Their matches in the late 80s, their singles matches in the late 80s were some of the best matches of the era. They were the matches. We talked earlier about paving the sort of the royal road, if you will, for what came in the 90s. Their matches in the late 80s are 100% going into the 90s. What laid the groundwork for that style, that King's Road style that everyone associates so much, rightfully so, with Misawa, Kobashi, Taue, Kawada. It was those matches between Jumbo and Tenryu that brought that to the forefront. So yeah, ready for this 100%.
Oh, me too. I am so just hyped. This was on TV. This was just like a TV match here.
I'm pretty sure this was to build to. I should actually look. Let me look here. I'm looking at let me go back from the career of Todd Champion. Let's look at that tour in 1989 that he was on, and let's see to it would be the end of the tour. But I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if at some point on this tour we didn't have a big singles match between Jumbo and Tenryu. That certainly seems like what this was building to.
Had to, because Jumbo and Tenryu start this match, and it is a hot start. Big chops. Jumbo takes him down by the arm. Tenryu takes him down, grabs a leg. Jumbo's fighting back.
Well, what we do have is, I don't yet see a big singles match, but I do see Jumbo and Yatsu defending against Tenryu and Kawada at Osaka Professional Gymnasium, better known now as Edion Arena. That would work. I could definitely go for that.
Jumbo fights back, hits a jumping knee, and beats this man down. Jumbo is a badass here, Adam. I loved it.
So to further the point in terms of, so they did not at Budokan later in the tour have a singles match. We had Jumbo against Yatsu, and then Tenryu defeating Gordy in a Triple Crown match in the main event. But yes, your point, those forearms up against the ropes by Jumbo, my God. We talked before, like the follow through on everything that he does, forearms, body slams. There's so much dismissive hatred of his opponent in everything that he does. And it's like the older he gets, the more of that is there. It is the best.
Jumbo will not let Kobashi in. He's not done. He won't tag out.
Well, there are also times where the tag happens and Jumbo just refuses it. It's like, Kobashi will tag in and Jumbo's like, no, this is not happening. I refuse the tag.
Tenryu backs Jumbo to the corner. Jumbo fights out and takes Tenryu down. They exchange leg holds. After a reset, Ogawa tags in. Hits a drop kick, but Jumbo cuts him off and finally tags in Kobashi.
This Ogawa Jumbo stuff is so great because it's exactly what I described. Like not old man, but like grumpy top guy Jumbo having to fight this spunky youngster and not one to have to deal with it and just trying to put him down as quickly as possible.
Kobashi comes in, hits a big drop kick, which I always pop huge for.
Well, yeah, you think Kobashi's knees they were shot relatively early in his career. You forget how crazy athletic he was for the size.
Ogawa knocked to the outside. Kobashi follows him out there, and Ogawa suplexes him on the floor. Back inside, Kobashi with rolling cradles for a 2 count.
We hear the announcers are yelling about Terry Funk on commentary. This was on YouTube, so I did the the Google translated commentary captions. Not very good. I feel like the Google Translate captions for commentary works much better on Lucha than it
Yes.
does on Japanese wrestling.
And Brazil.
Yes.
Portuguese
Yes,
did well
that
too.
was a lifesaver for that Brazilian show.
Ogawa blocks a backdrop with a swinging neckbreaker and tags in Tenryu. Tenryu backdrops his partner into a senton, squashing Kobashi. Kobashi makes a tag to Jumbo. Huge uppercuts from Jumbo. He hits his pile driver to get a 2 count.
Nasty, mean pile driver. And I love he hits those European uppercuts, and it's immediately like, oh, those are Dory Funk, yes, European uppercuts. 100%. He spent so much time both in Japan with the Funks, the announcers. You hear him say, Dory Funk, Dory Funk.
Butterfly suplex by Jumbo. Tags Kobashi back in. We get a full Boston Crab from Kobashi.
Oh, this is a deep, nasty Boston Crab by Kobashi. He is not messing around here.
Tenryu comes in to break it up. Jumbo tags back in. Ogawa with a flying back elbow, and he gets to tag Tenryu. Jumbo tries the jumping knee. It's blocked. Tenryu is in control. Jumbo's able to tag Kobashi in, and we get huge, brutal chops by Tenryu for a 2 count.
Yeah, he chops to the throat.
Chops
brutal. To the throat. Absolutely brutal. We did have also, you mentioned, Tenryu catches that jumping knee, and then he killed Jumbo with a lariat, counter lariat off that jumping knee, and Kobashi made the save. After those hard chops, this is where the match gets a little weird. Ogawa tags it, and we get this weird spot where they just run into each other, and then Ogawa hits a suplex.
Yeah, he misses a leg drop. Jumbo tags in. Ogawa with a ton of slaps to Jumbo's face.
He is slapping the hell out of Jumbo in the face, and you know this isn't going to work out well in the end for Ogawa. It does not take long. He tries an Irish whip, and Jumbo stops the Irish whip and absolutely murders him with a forearm. Just murders Ogawa.
Yes, he hits that forearm, drops him, and then he sends Ogawa in for the jumping knee, but Tenryu from the apron grabs his partner. Jumbo ends up missing the knee. Tenryu chops him. Ogawa tries a roll-up, but can't get Jumbo rolled up.
Yeah, he tries a sunset flip, and it's just weird. Again, this whole sequence kind of falls apart more than you would expect, given who's in the match. They cover for it well. My notes just say they are going so fast here. This pace, we talk about like the ferocity of the strikes, but it is a relentless pace. I go back to, again, that like mid-'80s when Choshu came in and really kind of like revolutionized the speed of what was happening in All Japan. Even though Choshu left, that was still in effect here, and just some things aren't working because the pace they're going is so high, but they just blow right through onto the next thing. They're not slowing down for anything.
Ogawa tries a sunset flip, but Jumbo won't go over. Tenryu in with chops, knocks him over for the 2 count. Drop kick in the corner by Ogawa. Jumbo throws him down. Backdrop driver. Kobashi in to keep Tenryu from breaking up the pin, and Jumbo pins Ogawa for the win. This match was a super fun TV match.
It was super fun, even with those couple of weird moments where it fell apart a little bit. It still was really, really good. It didn't detract that much from it. Just before the finish, I loved, you mentioned Jumbo throwing Ogawa down. Ogawa was trying a Beal out of the corner. And again, it's that dismissiveness. Jumbo just stops the Beal and just throws him down, like with that same follow through you would see when he does like a mean, nasty body slam. This was really good. Jumbo's nose was bloody at the end, so he clearly wasn't thrilled about that. Not super tight or clean in certain spots, but that's fine. I don't need my wrestling to always have everything come off perfectly executed. Here, sometimes like that adds to it. It makes it feel like more of a fight. So yeah, great way to wrap up the show.
No, anytime something wasn't going exactly right, they made it look like the struggle that it should be in a match like this, and the struggle was real to watch here. It was super fun, and the team of Jumbo and Kobashi delivered for me. Love that, but I always forget how much I enjoy like a younger Tenryu. I'm always like thinking about old man Tenryu.
Yeah,
But like
less lumps, more movement. Tenryu. Again, old man Tenryu is great too, breaking a beer bottle over Shibata's head, almost killing him with a DDT to the floor. But yeah, seeing like prime or near prime athletic Tenryu, who again, like I always think about, a lot of people think about Jumbo, and if Jumbo was a little younger, had stayed healthy, didn't have illness, and if he would have, if like the prime years of the big four would have been the prime years of Jumbo, I often think about if the prime years of those guys had been the prime years of Tenryu and he didn't have the falling out with All Japan and he was there, what we would have gotten.
Yeah, super fun that this was. Every time we parachute into an All Japan TV show, it's always delightful. Just random. This is just a random week of television. It kicks ass.
So great.
So super fun to watch. Great time. Favorite thing on this show for you?
And the main event was really good. I think my favorite thing on the show though was the opener, the Kawada and Fuyuki against Kroffat and Furnas. Seeing Kroffat and Furnas, in their element. We've talked before about them in the run in the WWF. Each guys are having a little bit of a cup of coffee in ECW, different stuff they did. This is so clearly what, as professional wrestlers, they were meant to do and where they were meant to be. I really enjoyed that. And honestly, that Abdullah the Butcher, Johnny Ace match was so fun for what it was. So much more fun than I would have thought to say on paper, hey, you're going to watch Johnny Ace versus Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah, agreed. Is there a worse thing on the show?
Todd Champion.
That one move specifically where the crowd literally laughed at him. It went from the worst thing on this show to one of an honorable mention favorite things on this show. The crowd.
Oh yes, it was one of those fun bad moments. Like if we're gonna be bad, be so bad that I remember it and I'm entertained by it. And Todd Champion, whether he realized it or not, he understood the assignment.
And with that, we're going to wrap it up for this week. I already mentioned the YouTube where you could find the video version of this podcast. If you subscribe to the audio podcast via Spotify, the video version's also there as well. You can see the video version, listen to the audio version if you subscribe on Spotify. But we are available audio-wise on all podcatchers of choice. Make sure that you are subscribing to all of our social media platforms. At Wrestle at Random is where you can find us. And patreon.com/wrestling at random. That is where you get bonus episodes. We're over 200 bonus episodes you haven't heard if you're a freeloader over here in the free feed. Over there, for $5, you unlock over 200 evergreen episodes. It's brand new to you. A lot of fun over there, a lot of weird stuff, wacky stuff, people, intentionalizers, picking shows for us to watch. If you haven't given it a try, $5 will unlock the entire back catalog for you. Give a couple of those episodes a try over at patreon.com/wrestling at random. And we're going to call it a podcast. Adam, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Randomizer. It's always nice. Again, I feel like All Japan TV is just a great comfort food thing. You're never going to be disappointed. We've had a bunch of them. It's never a letdown. It's just a matter of how great it's going to be. And Randomizer did us a solid. Ton of stars, couple really good matches, some curiosities, kind of everything you want out of this era of All Japan.
Thanks again, everyone, for listening. We'll talk to you again next time.